What do you get when you cross a personality who can fit in with the characters on Big Bang Theory, one of my favorite TV shows, along with successfully competing in ballroom dancing, and has even created an app called Brain Bump? Well, you get a fascinating interview with Mark Hershberg, who has a bucket load of experience in creating success, and he shares common sense wisdom for soon-to-be and current entrepreneurs. Mark has not only written an award-winning book, but he shares tech tidbits that are important for most anyone to hear in today's society. So hang on for a fun and insightful conversation where I'm sure you'll walk away with something you can apply. This podcast is brought to you by DJ Works Media with resources and ideas for you at mid-career or halftime of life. Check out our online courses where we want you to not only start, but finish. Books available in all versions and songs available for immediate download with sheet music and instrumental accompaniment tracks. Our musicals are family friendly with great music that's memorable and inspiring. Sign up at goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter for weekly updates. Now to our episode. Well, it is so fun to welcome Mark Hershberg today. I'm very excited about this interview. Welcome, Mark. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. It is my pleasure to be here.
Oh, well, I love our guests to tell a little bit about themselves. And in our little brief introduction, I gave a little bit of a tidbit that you could fit right in with the Big Bang Theory, which is like one of my favorite shows. I get such a kick out of it. They're very smart guys, but just, kind of the quirkiness, it's just fun. The writing is just incredibly clever. So you have a vast background, and the things that you've done is pretty amazing. So can you give us a little bit of that background of how you have come to this point in teaching at MIT, doing a lot of the tech work that you've done? Give us a little bit of that background.
I have this very interesting dual career. And as you alluded to, I am a bit of a nerd, quite a bit. I grew up a classic 80s nerd. And the conversations they had on the Big Bang Theory, those were conversations I would have with my friends at MIT. I actually once told Bill Purdy, the creator, I said, I swear you were recording us at MIT, and just put that into the show.
That is so funny.
I went to MIT. I came out in the 90s during a dot-com era, and I began as a software engineer. Most of my career has been building tech companies, some classic tech startups, sometimes helping Fortune 500s play startup and try to innovate. And throughout that part of my career, I knew early on I wanted to become a CTO, a Chief Technology Officer. What I realized from a very young age is that to become the CTO, it wasn't just about being the best engineer. Yes, I needed those skills, but I needed other skills, leadership, team building, communication, negotiations. These are skills I had heard of, but no one stopped to teach me. So I set out to develop it in myself. Back then, we didn't have great podcasts like this one to learn from. We were very much on our own. And as I did so, I recognized these skills apply to everyone, not just C-suite leaders, middle managers, entry-level people, summer interns, all of us benefit from this. So I began to train up my team. And now as I did so, MIT had gotten feedback from companies saying, we want these skills, not just in new grads, not just in engineers. We look for them, we can't find them. So MIT decided to put together a program to address this. When I heard about it, I reached out. I said, I've developed some content for my team. Please take it. Best of luck. They said, no, not so fast. Why don't you help us develop more content? This is good. We need more. I said, okay, help them develop some more. I said, nope, not so fast. You can't leave yet. Please help us teach it as well. And so alongside professors, there are professionals like myself who co-teach in the class. And I've been doing that. That's the unexpected second parallel career that I've been doing now for over 20 years.
Wow.
And that led to the book, the Career Toolkit, and now the speaking and the Brain Bump app, and this second career in parallel to building all the tech companies.
Wow. That's so fun. I mean, isn't it life crazy how these little roads just take us and And but that's great. I mean, what happens too, and as you teach and you develop all of that material, it's continuing your own education. So yeah, that's wonderful. And that was something else I wanted to talk about, that you teach this class called Career Success. And you wrote a book, which I've read most of your Career Toolkit. It's a great book because it's full of common sense and it's easy to apply, and just a lot of little points in there. And that's kind of in some of your advertising too. And you've had some great reviews on it, but it's a really pretty well written book. So can you comment on, the process of that, and kind of the reasoning that did you put out the book then maybe for some of your students, or what was the process in you developing that?
Well, thank you for the kind words on the book.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right that it's common sense. Common sense is remarkably rare.
It is.
That's what really killed me when I got into the.
It is.
The basics. And to be fair, I didn't know some of this either when I started. In the class, we often say to our students, we're here teaching because we don't want you to make the same mistakes that we did early on. We want to spare you that. And your theory about the book is correct. 20 years of teaching, I was saying to my students, now this class, it's very hands-on interactive. We're not saying they're lecturing and saying take notes and there's a test at the end. It's interactive, it's role-playing, it's case studies, it's trying and doing and debriefing and learning. But that means her students don't sit there taking a lot of notes. And I always harp on my students, write this down. Okay, now you understood. Just make a note. Please make a note. Put it somewhere. You're going to need this in 6 months. When you go to your summer internship, you got to remember this. And I know they're forgetting it. So for years, I was encouraging MIT, we should give them a pack of notes, something they can take with them, because I know they're not writing this down. I know they're not looking at it again. And for various reasons, it never happened. So I thought, let me write up some notes. I really thought I was writing 10, 15 pages of summary notes for the class.
Right.
Well, that became 20, 40, 80. Once it passed 100 pages, I said, these aren't notes. This is a book. Well, if I'm doing a book, I shouldn't do it just for engineering undergrads, because the lessons apply to all of us.
Right.
I just made sure the aim of the book, the phrasing, the style, as well as the examples are not just for them. And now I've pulled in examples from sales and marketing and accounting and from different levels. So it really applies to a broad audience. And so very unexpectedly put out a book.
And the neat thing about it, I can tell you've come from a well-educated background as well, and putting out, it's well-sourced. What gets me with some of these books is, these statistics say, they say, you can't find where it came from. And you have notes, you have little end notes on almost every single chapter. And I really appreciate that because if someone wants to do further research, they can go and do that. And I've always tried to be careful with that and do the same thing with any of the products that I put out. And boy, as I read other material, I'm thinking, yeah, where did that come from? And you can make my husband always says, he's been in a number of different fields, but most recent was the financial field. He could say, you can make up almost any number you want. You can find a way to do it. It has to be well-sourced and well-researched. And so I really do appreciate that. So anyway, that's great. I mean, doing a book, like I always say, for me, it's like having another baby. It's just, it's a work of getting it out and, all the team, and you had apparently some good advice along the way. And it's really well done. And I will make sure that links get into all of the notes on this. So anybody will be able to look at that. You've also done an app, and that's what first attracted me to some of your resume. And you have this app called Brain Bump. And I love the name. And I downloaded it on my phone. I have not hardly used it at all. I haven't had time to use it. But you come from a development background, and I know you can code. I know you can do all that. Now, did you do all of this yourself, or did you hire it out? Did you have developers, and how are you financing it? Because it's on Apple. I was able to get it on that, and it costs to put on Apple any sort of an app. So, but you've made it free. So give us a little bit of the background of this, because this will be very interesting to a lot of entrepreneurs listening to this.
Let me explain what the app is and then the process we used.
Right.
Just as I noted, my students wouldn't take notes and would forget it. I also know when reading a book, we tend to forget it. If you get a book like mine or any real business book, self-help book, you read it, you say, wow, these are great tips. And then you forget 2 weeks later.
Yes.
When you listen to podcasts, you have wonderful episodes, lots of great advice, but how much of that episode do you remember a week later? Especially because you probably heard it when you were at the gym or driving to work, and then you did a context switch, you're focused on something else, and you didn't really digest the information. Well, that is frustrating to the audience. You're not getting a good return on your time invested. And I know as a reader, I do that and say, I think I read something a while ago, but I can't remember. There are lots of tools for taking notes, but it's the retrieval that's key. That's what was missing.
Yes.
And so making the information accessible easily, that's key. So here's how the app works. We take the key ideas from books, blogs, podcasts, classes, talks. The content owner, the author, for example, puts the tips onto our server. You, the app user, can completely free, no cost to actually either side. You can download the app for free from Apple and Android. You can get those tips from the books and podcasts and other things completely free. They're in the app. They're in your pocket with you always. So you can use it one of two ways, either just in time. So for example, I have networking tips in my book. Where do you read that? Sitting at home. Where do you need that? 2 months later at a conference and you've forgotten them. So imagine you're in the lobby of the hotel. You're saying, I wish I remembered those tips. You pull out the app and within seconds you open the app. You say, I want networking tips because everything's organized by topic. And there's all the networking tips. How to make a good first impression. What are some icebreaker questions? Little common mistakes people make. How to end a conversation. It's right there. Now it's top of mind when you need it. Or the other way to use it is as a as a daily affirmation type of reminder. So imagine I'm a new manager. I just got promoted. I'm reading this management book. I want to remember all this, but there's a lot to remember and I don't know exactly when I'll need it. I can't say to you, wait, time out. I have to open an app and look this up.
Yes.
Imagine getting a daily reminder. So at 9 a.m. every day, I get one of the tips from the book. I don't even have to open the app. It just pops up. I go, oh, right, yep, good idea. Swipe, done. Seeing it over and over keeps it top of mind. And then at 6 p.m., maybe I'm also reading a marriage book because my spouse is saying, you're not present in our marriage. And so I get that at 6. Now, here's the key. If I get a marriage tip at 2 p.m. because I'm on someone's mailing list, I go, yeah, great advice, but I've got 3 more meetings to focus on this afternoon, and I forget it. If I get the management tip at 7 o'clock at night, a great idea, I'll forget by tomorrow morning. By delivering the right content at the right time and place, it resonates better. That helps the audience retain it, and that helps the brand stay top of mind and brand relevant, which is why they give us their content for free. So that's the Brain Bump app. I recognize there is a need in the marketplace. Nothing did this. We actually just got a patent on it because it's innovative. No one had done it. To build it, although I am a software developer and I do know how to code, I am a little rusty at it. And I have never coded an app. I was coding server side,
Right.
which we didn't have apps back when I was still very hands-on keyboard for most of my job. So I outsourced that and I've got different contract developers who I've used to build it, but everything else I do myself. All the marketing, all the management, all the sourcing, all the promotion, 100% me, all out of pocket. I could go get VC funding for this, but VCs will want to turn a profit, and that means I have to start charging people.
Right.
And I don't want to do that. I want this to be free for everyone.
I absolutely love this. And in fact, you've inspired me now. I just haven't spent the time on it. And I knew authors could put, I have 6 books. So for me to be able to put my content on there, for people to recall and to come up with some of those tips, what a wonderful, you just got the clip notes, it's going to be online anyway. So it's great to be able to have that. And I'm probably dating myself with Cliff Notes anyway. And, technology has moved so fast. It has just, and I feel like I came from the Stone Age in the music thing, because music typewriters, when I came through my graduate work, they were $20,000. You didn't do anything. There was no computer. There was nothing. You did it all by hand. So it's the technology we have is just absolutely amazing. And it's very inspiring. And so the link will be to the brain bump. It's wonderful. And you're going to hopefully just keep the plan was to keep making it free, is from what I read. And that would be, that's very admirable that you're doing that. And it was very cute because I read through the FAQs. I did do a little bit of, because I wanted to be ready for today. And the very last one, it said something about spelling errors. And I noticed a couple spelling errors throughout it. I'm thinking, because I read really fast, and I kind of went through and I thought, oh, he's got some spelling errors in here. Is there nobody? And then I realized you're probably doing a lot of this yourself and you have to make those little corrections. So anyway, I appreciated that a lot, especially to have something like that and that powerful. And you have a number of patents. So, the process of getting these, I've got trademarks, I've got all that stuff. It's a process to do all of this, to keep up with everything and to make sure that your intellectual property is, you're protecting it as much as we can, at least,
But a lot of work and a lot of money for that. I do want to give one shout out. You said you appreciated the name. The name was inspired by Alexandra Watkins. She has this wonderful book, Hello, My Name is Awesome, on creating brand names. And I had a different name for the app originally. It wasn't a good name. I knew it wasn't good. I used her methodology, and that's how I came up with Brain Bump. And I really appreciate her book and her wisdom.
Great. I'll look that up. It's by Alexander. Who did you say?
Alexandra Watkins.
Alexandra Watkins. Okay. And I'll find that book and put that in. I usually put that in some sort of the notes as well. So, well, you have a lot of areas that you speak about. When we were talking about what, you could talk about in this podcast, I was kind of focusing in on the app and on, your book and all of that. And then you sent me this list. This huge list. And I knew, okay, so there's the nerd side coming out. I admit I'm definitely a nerd. So, but you were very, very organized in that, in a lot of the areas that you can speak about. So what I'm curious about is you've got a lot of these areas, but you teach, you do a number of different things. What does your day look like? How do you format your day? How do you try to stay balanced in some ways? And so what is Mark's day all about?
It will vary day to day. I am involved as a fractional CTO in a few different companies right now. So just think your normal corporate job. That means meetings, emails, reviewing documents, reviewing code. And that will be some number of hours a day for one or more clients. It's not always, even though I work with an expected number of hours a week per client, any given day, this day might be heavier for this client, less heavy for that one. That's usually, my mornings especially tend to be fairly busy. And then the afternoons, it's more scattered meetings. That's when I have time to catch up on emails. I've been working from home since 2017. I've been at virtual companies for a long time. And I will say I do like, especially when my day starts with 3 or 4 hours of straight meetings, that I might then make lunch and watch TV, because that turns my mind off. I had 4 straight hours of being honest. Like, let me do something mindless. Okay, good. Now I can get back to work, and now I can focus on these emails. I will, in between my clients, I will do work for Brain Bump or the book. I'll go on podcasts like this one or reach out about booking on shows. And then, of course, just your personal life, errands and things that you do. Right. I will regularly work into the night. Yeah. I am a night person. I think better at night. And so certain things, in fact, sometimes I'll have work emails. I'll think, I'm not even going to think about this until 9 o'clock. Then I can focus. Then I can concentrate on it. So it's very scattered. I actually don't mind that. I like the variety of all the different things I do.
That's interesting. I mean, I've worked with a lot of different people, and especially because I've been in the music field for so long too. And a lot of them are they're night people. They write at night. I am a morning girl. So I get up early, early bird worm. That's, I get them early. And my mind, so I try to do a lot of my brain work there in the morning. So even the creative work. So I just get, if you get up early, you're tired at a certain point too. So yeah, interesting though. That's why I kind of wondered what your routine and, how that goes. And when you've got so many different things to fit in, and I understand taking a break, you've got to take some sort of break, and if the TV does it for you, for me, it's just getting outside. So yeah, it's, I'm in a place, Southern California, where we've had a lot of rain lately, so there's hasn't been as much, but get outside. So there was another little area that I found fascinating, and apparently you don't compete anymore in ballroom dancing, but you've been in the past. And that's fascinating. I mean, that's a whole other little area. And how did you get into that? And what does that do for you?
The short version of the story, when I was at MIT, I got set up on a date with a woman from Wellesley, had a good first date, thought, okay, what are we going to do for future dates? It was during our January intersession. This is between the regular semesters. There's a whole bunch of amazing activities that go on at MIT. And ballroom dancing classes are one of the more popular ones during IAP. I thought, okay, this will be a fun couples thing for us to do. And we started dancing together. That relationship didn't last long. She's still a good friend of mine, but we only dated a few weeks. But I got into ballroom dancing. And so I kept social dancing. About a year and a half later, I met another girl. She was a non-ballroom dancer. She had a more modern type of background and would do dance troupe, but got her to start doing ballroom. And then about 6 months later, she decided she wanted to join the team and compete, which apparently meant I had also made the decision to join the team and compete. So she got me into it, but it is one of the best things that ever happened to me. I competed throughout my 20s. Because it's not an NCAA sport, you don't have that 5-year eligibility restriction. I could do it. And the MIT team is open to students, grad students, faculty, staff, alumni. So I kept competing with the team. Now, what I tell people, in addition to being a fun activity, in addition to making lots of friends, it's obviously great exercise. It helped me professionally.
Wow.
Not only did it help, obviously, networking, because I'm meeting lots of people, many of whom I keep in touch with to this day, but it helped my public speaking.
Ah.
Now, this is surprising because we're not doing a lot of talking on the dance floor.
No.
Here's the thing when it comes to public speaking. The number one challenge people have as speakers is fear. It's when you get up on the podium and you're worried, what if my clothing's off as a man? Like, what if my zipper's down? Or what if I say the wrong thing? What if I trip over a cord? What if this, that, everything else? And you get scared and you get nervous. And that holds us back. When doing competitive ballroom dancing, you are on a floor in front of hundreds of people. You are very literally being judged. And there are many times I was on the floor and I went to do a certain move and would just screw it up. And you just know in the moment, you're like, oh, damn. Yep. Oh, and the judge was looking at me. She saw it and turned away. I didn't get the mark. Yep, screwed up, fail. But that's okay, because then you just go on to the next event. Right. You might not have just made the next round in this one, but that's okay. And you can't stop. You can't say, oops, I screwed up that move. Can I do it over? Because the music's going.
It keeps going. Exactly.
You learn that it's okay when you have these bumps. Everyone, even the top dancers, have them. They have fewer and they're smaller, but we all have them. And so that practice over and over of being on stage effectively, of performing, of making mistakes, of getting through it, gave me the confidence that now when I do public speaking, yes, I have misspoke. Yes, I have probably tripped on a microphone cord. I've had my slides go down 2 slides into the presentation and go, wow, the AV equipment just completely failed.
Yep.
But that's okay. And I'm going to roll with it, and I'm not going to lose my nerve. and that comes from practice. So I tell people, whether it's ballroom dancing or acting or comedy, I've started doing a little stand-up comedy to push myself in new ways, or other types of performances, music as well.
Right.
That's going to help the
Definitely.
confidence, which is a fundamental skill you need for public speaking.
It definitely is. It is the repetition. I always say it's the perfect practice. It's you want to be able to repeat something again and again, as perfect as you can, and take another step up. That's very applicable in music. But the same thing, you just have to do it. You just have to not be scared just to fall on your face, because I mean, one of the hardest things, and I read this a lot from different actors on TV shows. They hate to watch themselves. And in fact, if I go back and watch myself on a lot of the video, I've done a lot of video, I've done a lot of recording, and you listen back and you go, oh, I could have done that a little bit different. Or, you can always second guess yourself a little bit. But the fact is that you did it. I know a lot of people that never put stuff out ever because they were afraid. So great point. Thank you for sharing that. So, and that's really fun to have that sort of background. And hopefully you're still doing some ballroom dancing, even though you're not doing the competing. It's just a fun.
I'm social dancing.
Yeah. It's just fun. So, well, as we kind of start to kind of wind this up just a little bit, we've really been going, let's see, what time? Oh, we've been going I'm trying to see how long we've been going here. I don't have my glasses on. I could put those on. But I'd like you to give some takeaways, at least one takeaway or a couple takeaways. We've not talked about a lot of tech tips yet, but I want you to give maybe a couple tech tips that you would have for people that are maybe they're facing the fear. They're not facing the fear of ballroom dancing or public speaking, but they're facing the fear of technology. And then I kind of after that, I want to hear what's next. What's next for you, Mark?
Lots of people right now are fearful about losing their jobs to technology.
Yes.
It is a valid fear, but there's also evidence that you shouldn't be totally fearful. There is opportunity as well as risk. So let's give a little historical context. We see over and over that jobs do get lost. We don't have milkmen anymore. Many travel agents are gone. People running newspaper presses have mostly disappeared. And we're losing those jobs because of technology. But we have at the same time gained a whole bunch of new jobs. There were no social media managers when we had those milkmen. So jobs disappear, new jobs get created. Traditionally, this happens over a long period of time. The example I usually give when I do a talk is we start with farming, because most of us were farmers. At the beginning of U.S. history, if you go back 200 and nearly 50 years, 90% of us were farmers. And over a 100-year period, that drop, we went from about 75% to 25% over 100 years. And that's as people left the farms and went into the factories that were the growing new jobs. And what happened was mechanization were taking away the farm jobs. You didn't have to do it by hand. You had machines. But then there were these new machines in the factories to actually build the farming machines and others. And we needed workers for that. The risk here is it's happening so much faster. That happened over 100 years. So children could take a different path than their parents. We now see technologies come in and can disrupt in 10 years or even less. So we have to be faster in how we retrain. I spent a couple years working at a program through SUNY's Levin Institute, SUNY State University of New York. It was funded by the Economic Development Council of New York during the Great Recession, because we knew jobs were being lost and not coming back. And we said, we have to retrain people. Now, some of that was, how do you learn social media marketing? Because your traditional newspaper print ads, no one's hiring you to do that. But then also there were just cultural changes that we had to help people with. How do you move from these large corporations to small ones? How do you learn to move faster? How do you learn to stay on top of the tools? So you need to also think meta. It's not just, I learned this new tool, but behaviorally, how you think differently about it.
Hmm.
Now, here's the thing that you should do with your job when you're thinking, is my job safe? For most of us, we are not milkmen. It's not your job is completely going away, but your job is changing.
Changing. Yes.
So don't think of my job as X. Your job is actually 30 different tasks. It involves maybe doing certain analysis. It involves putting together reports. It involves scheduling meetings at a certain point. It involves sending emails, talking to people, customers, internal people. Break down task by task. I need to do these 17 things to do my job, not 17 equal things. And then how important are these tasks? Certain things like, oh, I just have to send an announcement that this got updated. It needs to happen. People need to know, but that's not your real value add.
Right.
Honestly, my 12-year-old can do that part of a job, my 12-year-old
Right.
nephew.
Yes.
But there are other things, the detailed analysis, my nephew can't do that.
Mhm.
So that's where you're adding more value. Then we also look at what level of automation is happening. Scheduling meetings, that will be automated away. And the good news is scheduling meeting, low value, high automation, we're all happy it goes away. I don't
Yes.
want to have to deal with that.
Yes.
What you're going to look at is when things get automated away that are high value. Because there will be some low value that can't be automated away and you're stuck doing the grunt work. There'll be low value that does, and we say thank you. There's high value that gets automated away, and you say, oh, okay, I'm losing some of the value I'm providing to the company. What are the other high value things that can't be automated away that I am either doing today, or now that I have more free time because some of my tasks got automated, I can start to do those things to add yet more value. So your job itself isn't going to disappear, but anywhere from 5 to maybe 75% will start to erode over time. And you need to say, well, good riddance. I didn't want to schedule all those meetings anyway. Now I can focus on making the meetings more productive or doing other tasks that deliver more value. And that's how you are going to stay safe and ahead of the curve. But even if you say, okay, I did it today, for better or worse, you might need to do it again in 10 or even 5 years because technology is moving quickly.
And it really brings up to the point of I am a big proponent of lifelong learning, and you have to just keep reading, keep researching, and there's different AI tools that you can use, and not being afraid of them. I just told one of my I have a couple virtual assistants. I just told one who's in a younger generation, which I love to have some that are a little younger generation. But I said, you need to learn these AI tools. And I said, you can have a lot of those basic skills, but you need to keep up with it. Even though you got family, you've got kids, growing kids, but spend a little time. And I always say waste a little time, because that's how you learn. You learn, again, it's just like by falling down at a ballroom dancing or ice skating or anything else. You gotta do enough falls, and you gotta fail enough times to where a program's not working. Well, why isn't it not working? Why am I not taking good notes? And you take better notes for next time, and you can get right on. So there's those sort of things in our learning curve. We can't be afraid of that. Just saying, oh, this just takes too much time. Well, of course it does. Of course it does. You've got to spend the time, enough time, that now you can be at least, grow in your confidence. So that's great advice. And there's certain jobs that won't be automated. I mean, they're starting, even fast food, they're starting all these kiosks and, more and more and more as also with the cost of workers, it's going up. Well, they can't afford the workers. So they got to do, electronics. So this is a lot of this is there's a necessity that way, but now you need people to fix those machines, and you need the service on it. You got to figure out how to do the back end of those. So there's all of that, and that's going to be available. So it's great words of advice, and I really think, especially for younger people coming up, but also those who are at mid-career, half-time of life. You can't be afraid of tech. You just got to embrace a lot of it. Find somebody, surround yourself with right people that can do some of it. but also dive into it enough to be able to manage it. You've got to be able to manage it. I mean, Mark, you have this sort of background that you can definitely manage almost anything tech-wise, but a lot of people don't have that.
But it's less work than you think. And I'm
Yes,
actually going to give an analogy. We're going to tie this back to
that's
Ballroom.
good. Good.
When we would take the new recruits for the team, we tell them in just 3 months, when you go to one of the social dances, you're going to look amazing. You're only 3 months in. You're still a very much beginning dancer, but just doing an hour or two of training a week for 3 months, one semester's worth, you're already head and shoulders above the social dancers. Little work, but you're on that steep part of the learning curve. Steep meaning per unit time invested, you get a large return. And so we see the same thing with new technologies. Yes, if you want a PhD in artificial intelligence, that is a long course. But if you invest 10 to 20 hours, that means spend an hour or two a week, listen to a podcast about it, read an article about it, talk to a colleague, maybe who knows more about it, play around with it, and then repeat. And then, okay, now I understand a little more. Let me read another article. Now this is making more sense. Okay, let me try this again. And we're talking 10 to 20 hours. That is not a huge investment. But like those social dancers who you can outclass with a little bit of effort, with just this 10 to 20 hours of investment today, you will outclass the other people who said, well, I've heard of it. Yeah, I read one blog post or I saw a 5-minute news segment, but you have the experience and now you're head and shoulders above them. And this is true of so many new tools and technologies. A small amount of investment, like the old saying, the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. That
Yep.
small investment puts you ahead of other people. So it's a huge ROI to do that.
Great advice. I just love that. It really, see, that comes from, hopefully our listeners are seeing the amount of experience that you've had as well, because you've gone through that same thing. You don't just automatically go, oh, boom, I know everything. No, there's, yeah, it's a journey. It's a journey. So what's next for you? That's great words of advice. And again, some people need to listen to that again and again. So to kind of go through that little section. What is next for you? You're on the same path of developing your app a little bit more. You've got the trademarks now, or the patent. You got the actual patent on that. So, what's next for you? What are you working on?
A number of things. I have my fractional CTO consulting, and I'm always adding clients or clients move on. I am, at the time we're recording this in the spring of 2024, raising money for a startup.
Okay.
And so that's a path that will take me some number of years to not just raise money, hopefully that's sooner, but obviously build out the startup. I continue to promote the book and the speaking that I do related to the book, as well as the tech speaking I do. I speak to companies either about professional development, as in the book, or about AI and its impact on jobs, companies, and society. So I'm doing more and more speaking these days. And then the app, as you noted, we're going to continue to develop that. Now, we probably do go a little slow, and we do have some typos from time to time because it moves at the speed of me and whatever I can finance out of my pocket.
Right.
But we'll continue to add functionality, and we continue to grow content. Every month, more content is coming on. I'm excited. That sounds like we can get some of your great content on there as well. I know your listeners will love it. So we're going to grow the content. We keep adding more content. We keep getting more users. So that's yet a third thing. I may do another book. People often ask, but doing the app, it's a lot like doing the book. I may not be writing as many words, but when you do a book, the real work, it's not writing the book, it's the marketing and promotion you need to do.
Yeah.
And right now I've got to focus on that for the app. Whether it's a book or an app, you got to get out there and tell people about it.
That is so true. I mean, I've taught some college courses as well, and I taught music business. And I said, doing your project is like this. Doing the marketing is like, yes, and it's what people don't expect. They think, oh, I got a record deal. Oh, yay. No, that's just a little bit of it. And, there's a lot. That's why there's a lot of that common sense in your book. And I'd encourage you to, keep writing. I can't help but write, it's a lot of fun.
I have two blogs I put out every week.
Yeah.
So I have the Career Toolkit blog, new articles on these topics, and then Cognosco Media. We talk about podcasting and media and how that's evolving with technology. So those come out every week.
And I think there was a little note in there somewhere that this was not written by AI. So that was kind of nice too. I saw that. I do a little bit of the AI to just help me with editing, basically. So, but you got to have good content. You can't trust it. You can't just put something in ChatGPT and go, oh, just give me all this stuff. No. And that's why your stuff is well sourced. And I appreciated that. It's actually goes back to the actual studies or the statistics, and that's really important. So go ahead.
I share your frustration. I see so many people cite things that are either wrong or incorrect. I'll give a very famous example. We so often hear people say, most communication's nonverbal. Absolutely false. And when you ask them where that came from, they don't know. And when you really trace it back to the source, there was a research report done by Mavlasum, I'm forgetting his name, back in 1967, where he would show people a still photograph of someone and then play one word and see if the listener, if the subject thought there was a disconnect between the facial expression or body language in the picture and the word spoken, or between the tone and the actual word. So, for example, a difference between yes versus yes. And that's where he came up with tone can override. Now, obviously, if you hear me just say yes, there's uncertainty. But that doesn't mean when you listen to an hour-long talk, most of it was nonverbal. And so people misused that statistic. It got out in the world. People continually misquote it. So I appreciate that you use true primary sources. I do the same. And if you use AI for your research, it's fine. I don't. I only use it to generate the images for my blog because it can make nice images better than anything I can find or draw myself. If you use it, go verify the sources because
definitely
large language models are not about references. They are about creativity.
I've even looked up book sources. I've asked them for a synopsis of a book, and it gives me a wrong paragraph or a wrong synopsis of it. And it's supposed to come from Amazon or, something, and it's supposed to do. So the input somewhere wasn't great. You have to check it all of it. You need to check it. So definitely it's great if you can use a little bit of that. So anyway, and I encourage people, go ahead and use it, but just check it. Check your sources, and it's good. It's good for writers I feel like expanding just put this in different words that sound a little bit more like me. They can start, getting that. So anyway, well, this has been delightful. Give us a notice. All the links will be in this. Just kind of verbalize those now to where people can contact you, and but realize that and this is one of I don't always write articles for every single podcast because I'm accepting more bonus podcasts this year. It's kind of one of my goals, but all the links will be into every single show note. So, and you'll get a video with it as well. So give us some of that information.
There's two different websites for the book. You can go to thecareertoolkitbook.com. There you can learn more about what's in the book, where to buy it, Amazon, elsewhere. You can get in touch with me or follow me on social media. And there is a resources page with a bunch of completely free resources. I don't even ask for your email because I don't really have anything I want to sell you. I try to give away everything for free. There's also the weekly article I put out going deeper into the topic. So all of that is at thecareertoolkitbook.com. And then there is the completely free Brain Bump app. You can find it on both app stores, or you can go to brainbumpapp.com. And on the website, you can see a 90-second explainer video. There's a bunch of FAQs and instructions and some Easter egg typos if you're really excited about trying to find them. And the app is completely free. It has all of the tips in my book, completely free, plus advice from a bunch of other books, blogs, podcasts, and sources. And all of that is at brainbumpapp.com.
Thank you so much. I will be adding my books to this gradually as I find minutes in my day, and I will be spending time with that. Thank you again, Mark. This was a fascinating episode. I was really looking forward to this just because of the tech moving so fast. And there's a lot of authors and podcasts or everything with people that I interview that aren't really approaching the technology. And I think we have to, and I've been into this field because I've been in music recording and all of that, but some people call me a techie, but I'm not really. It's just because I've used it so much and I've had to make mistakes. I've had to get through it. So I just want to encourage everybody in that area. So thank you all for joining us, those who stuck with us all the way through. I always appreciate it. These podcasts come out at least once a week. Make sure you're on my newsletter as well, goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter, because you will get my weekly articles. And midweek, I usually put out extra information there, a lot of music as well. And I give away a lot of stuff as well. So just make sure that you're onto those, or at least hooked up with the social media, and that you follow these podcasts. So thanks again, everyone, for being with us. And I'll look forward to being with you again next time. Bye-bye for now. Thank you for joining us. It is because of our wonderful listeners like you that we keep going strong week after week. We'd love it if you'd share and follow us to not miss a single show, and even write a review. You can also find all of our articles, products, and links at womenathalftime.com.